Good morning, ma'am. I am Karishma, roll number 44. I am pursuing my post-graduation in MBA Business Analytics from Guru Jambeswar University, Science and Technology, Hisar. I am here to represent my presentation on the topic O. Williamson's model. Now I am going to start my presentation. O. Williamson's model of managerial discretion. Williamson's model of managerial discretion was developed by Oliver E. Williamson in 1964. Williamson's, like other managerial theories of the firms, assumed the utility maximization is the sole objective of the managers of a joint stock organization. It is also known as the managerial discretion theory. The managerial utility function includes such variables as salary, security, power, status, and professional excellence. Of these variables, only the first is measurable, the others are non-measurable. And if they are to be operational, they must be expressed in the terms of other variables with which they are connected and which are measurable. This is attended by the concept of expense preference, which is defined as the satisfaction which managers derive from certain types of expenditure. In particular, staff expenditure on emoluments, stock payments, and funds available for discretionary investment give to managers a positive satisfaction because these expenditures are a source of security and reflect the power status and professional achievements to managers. The utility function of the may be written in form U is equal to SM, where S is showing staff expenditure, M managerial emoluments, and ID showing discretionary investment. Profit works as a limit of the manager's utility maximization as the shareholders require a minimum profit to be paid out in the form of dividends. If these minimum profits are not covered, then the job security of the managers is put in danger. But the managers are able to hold a powerful position. If the first one is the firm is showing a reasonable rate of growth, the second one is minimum dividends are paid to the shareholders, and the last one is the profits at any time are at an expectable level. Here the manager's decisions on price and outputs differs from the manager's decisions on price and outputs of a profit maximization. Now the basic relation and definitions. The demand of the firm. It is assumed that the firm has a known downward sloping demand curve defined by the functions. X is equal to PSE, where X is showing output, P price, S staff expenditure, and E the condition of the environment. It is assumed that the demand is negatively related to price and but positively related to staff expenditure and to the shift factors. Assumption of, of assumption of Williamson's model managerial discretion. The first one is imperfect competition. The second one is separation of ownership and management. The last one is a minimum profit to be able to pay to the shareholders. The factor that affect the interest of self-saying managers are the first is salary and other forms of monetary compensations. The second is management stock on or non-essential management prerequisites. The third one is number of staff under the control of manager. The last one is the magnitude of discretionary investment expenditure by the managers. Now the production cost. The various concepts of profit used in the Williamson's model need to be understood clearly before moving to the main model. Williamson has put forth four more main concept of profits. These are actual profit, discretionary profit, reported profit, and minimum profit. The first one is actual profit. The actual profit is defined as the revenue from sales less the production cost and the staff expenditure, where pi is equal to r minus c minus s, where r is revenue, c is the cost of production, and s is the staff expenditure. Now, reported profit. This is the profit reported to the tax authorities. Reported profit is the difference between actual profits and supplementary managerial elements as represented by the management stock. It is the actual profit means the managerial elements which are tax deductible. So pi r is equal to pi minus m is equal to r minus c minus s and m. The third one is minimum profit. Minimum profit is the number of profit which is required to be paid as an acceptable dividend to the shareholders of the firm. Suppose the shareholders do not get responsible dividends. In the case, they may sell their shares and thereby expose the firm of the risk of being taken over by others. Or alternatively, they will vote for a change of top management. Both of these actions by the shareholders will reduce the job security of the top managerial team. Hence, some minimum profit should be earned by the managers for the shareholders in the form of dividends to keep them satisfied. Through this, he can ensure his job security. To meet this objective, the, the reported profit must be at least as high as the minimum profit, plus the tax that must be paid to the government. This is mathematically expressed as pi r greater than pi 0 plus t. The tax function is of the form of t is equal to t plus t pi r, where t is the managerial tax rate of the unit profit tax and greater T is the lump sum tax. The fourth one is discretionary profit. Discretionary profit is the amount of profit left after subtracting from the actual profit, the minimum profit requirement and the tax. It can be expressed as pi d is equal to pi minus pi 0 minus t. Discretionary investment. Discretionary investment, the amount left from the reported profit after subtracting the minimum profit and the tax. It can be expressed as pi id is equal to pi r minus pi 0 minus t. Discretionary profit is different from minimum profit. This is the amount of profit which is required for an acceptable dividend policy by the shareholders. If shareholders do not receive some profit, they will be inclined to sell their shares or to vote for a change in the top management. Both actions obviously reduce the job security of managers. Hence, they will make sure to have a minimum profit, no adequate to keep shareholders satisfied. For this, the reported profit must be at least as high as the minimum profit requirement plus the tax that must be paid to the government. T is equal to R plus T, where T showing the managerial tax rate, the R is showing a lump sum tax. Now, the graphical representation of O. Williamson's model. The graphical representation of the equilibrium of the firm require the construction of the indifference curve, map of managers and the profit curve. An indifference map is the family of indifference curve. An indifference curve is a curve which shows different combination of two goods yield the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. In other words, it is it identifies the various combination of goods among which the consumer is indifferent. Here, the indifference curve under the Williamson's model show the relationship between monetary expenditure on the staff and discretionary investment. These are the two variables that determine the utility function of the managers. Now, the indifference map is showing the screen. In other words, the indifference curve is the figure where staff expenditure S is measured on the x-axis and discretionary profit pi d on the y-axis. Each indifference curve show various combination of staff expenditure and discretionary profit which given the same level of satisfaction to the manager. Now the explanation is the indifference curve of manager will be drawn on a graph whose axes are measured staff expenditure and discretionary profit. Each indifference curve show combination of S and pi r which give the same satisfaction to the manager. It is assumed that the indifference curve of managers are the usual shape. They are convex to the origin, implying diminishing managerial rate of substitutions of staff expenditure and discretionary profit. And it is further assumed that the indifference curve do not interact the axis. This assumption restricts the choice of managers to positive level of both staff expenditure and discretionary profit. The first is implying that the firm will any increase in expenditure on staff or discretionary profit or in both result in an increase in the satisfaction of the managers by increasing the utility. This assumption restricts the choice of managers or to positive level of both staff expenditure and discretionary profit, implying that the firm will choose value of pi d and s that will yield positive utility. It is shown in the figure below. Suppose the indifference curve does not interact the axis. In the case, the model execute the corner solution such as point A, B, C, D, etc., where discretionary profit pi d would be 0 in the final equilibrium of the firm. Indifference curve do not interact the axis. We have derived the indifference curve of the manager and have seen that they are well behaved. Now let us determine the profit function and then the equilibrium analyzed of the firm. The relationship between S and staff expenditure and pi d discretionary profit is determined by the profit function. The profit functions explain the relationship between profit and outputs. We have seen that output is the function of the price of the product expenditure on staff and the demand shift parameter. Thus the profit function is the function of the price of the product expenditure on staff and the demand shift parameters. Now the explanation is the model is the this vision execute corner solution such as points A, B, C, etc., where pi r would be 0 in the final equilibrium of the firm. Choose values of pi r and s that will yield positive utility with respect of each components of its utility function. The relationship between S staff expenditure and pi d discretionary profit is determined by the profit function n is equal to fx is equal to fpse. This is the profit curve. We can see from the figure that the profit curve initially rises, reaches a maximum and then falls thereafter as the level of production increases. It starts increasing from point A, reaches the maximum at point B and then start falling and become negative after reaching point C. So initially both discretionary profit and staff expenditure increases with the level of production. This increases continues till the maximum profit on the profit curve beyond point B, where with the increase in production profit curve start falling and staff expenditure continue to increase. If their expenditure continue to increase and exceed point C, then the minimum profit concentrate is not satisfied. So the region before point A and to the right of C are not feasible solution. It should be clear from the above discussion that the drawn profit curve does not include the minimum profit requirement pi 0. Williamson's model implies higher output, lower price and lower level of profit than the profit maximization model. So the explanation is at the initial stage of production and up to the level of output where profit reach their maximum level, both discretionary profit and staff expenditure increases. However, if production exceeds this level, profit will start declining, but staff expenditure continue to increase. If this expenditure exceeds point C, the minimum profit concentrate to not satisfy and hence points to the right of C are not feasible solution. It should be clear from the above discussion that the drawn profit curve does not include the minimum profit requirement. This curve is showing the indifference curve have a negative slope. Explanation: given that the indifference curve have a negative slope, it follows that the equilibrium solution will be always on the falling section of the profit staff curve. This shows the preference of manager staff expenditure. In Williamson's model, the staff expenditure will be greater than that of a profit maximizer. Furthermore, Williamson's model implies higher output, lower price and lower level of profit than the profit maximization model. The above predictions will be better understood after the presentation of the general model of managerial discretion. Now the conclusion is that Oliver Williamson's transaction cost economics model provides a powerful framework for understanding how firms organize and govern their activities to minimize cost beyond just production expenses. This model empathizing that transaction costs such as those related to negotiating, monitoring and enforcing agreement can influence whether companies to perform tasks initially internally and connect them out of other firms like market or create hybrid structure like alliances. So this is from my side. Thank you.